ECSI fans, you want to revolutionize your sports investing habits? Allow me to tell you about WagerWire. WagerWire is an app that helps you become a superior bettor by allowing you to sync all your sports books and track all your bets in one place. See your current action, your betting history, and stats. You could also sign up for sports books and collect bonus offers. Follow them at WagerWire on X, as it's the best account on the platform. Head to App Store or Play Store now and search WagerWire and download the
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I am the co-host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and it is that time of the week, Thursday, Breakfast Bankroll edition. Good friend and colleague, Mr. Scotty Webb, live from Tampa, as we get you set up for, there's a Thursday night football game, money coming in on Seattle. Sam Darnold, as they travel to Arizona. Back in the day, the Desert Swarm defense, fun to watch. Jake the Snake Plumber, Carson Palmer, Neil Lomax. You youngins, you can all Google those guys. Now, I call him the Mighty Midget, and that's Kyler Murray tonight. But again, right now, as I speak, Seattle now 1.5-point favorites in Arizona. One college game, Army at East Carolina. East Carolina currently about a 4-point favorite there. College football, as you know, on Friday. 3 great games, actually. Me, myself, and Scotty broke down Monday and Tuesday. Scotty has a handful of in-pocket plays. Last week, those in-pocket plays went 4-0, so we'll break those down. And of course, again, strictly, we're sticking to football here, but the MLB playoff race, OMG. Geez, if the Reds could just have won a couple games, we wouldn't be sweating the Reds, but we cashed the over on the Reds, cashed the over on the Red Sox. Looks like my Red Sox are going to get in. Maybe the weekend versus the Tigers won't mean as much, obviously. The historic collapse of the Guardians. I lived it in 78 for the Red Sox and Yankees. But again, we're going to talk football here. First and foremost, a shout out to our proud sponsors and partnerships. It's WagerWire. Head on over to Google Play, download the app. It is free. And of course, AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. Steaks, seafood, chops, appetizers, wines. Terry's got it all. Just set it and forget it. 4 subscription plans like I do. Every 30 days, I get a box full of goodies. New York Strip, Cowgirl, Prime, you name it, Terry takes good care of me. So go, if you haven't already, go introduce yourself to Terry Smith on Facebook. Then come on back to AtlantaSteaksAndSeafood.com. So without further ado, I'm going to play a little, here we go. Scotty Webb, what's up, Chuck?
Hey, man, it's, I don't know how to say it. You have a collapse of the Detroit Tigers and a major run, right, from the Cleveland Guardians. I know this football show, but and then you have the Houston Astros that can't capitalize. They're still out of the playoffs. So it's if it wasn't for the teams beating up on the Astros, the Tigers wouldn't even be in there. So it is what it is. It's baseball. Who knows? we'll see how it goes.
I'm going to add a nugget there. I don't remember this. I don't think you do too. I guess he becomes the fourth player, but the big thumper, whatever you want to call him this morning, 60 home runs by Cal Riley.
Yeah, my opinion on that is that should solidify him as the MVP over Judge. You get 60 home runs and you're a catcher. You should be you should get the MVP. I mean, I look. I think Aaron Judge is the best player and the best position player in baseball. I mean, he drives in the runs, he hits the ball, whatever. But all that being said, and maybe the timeout that he spent or whatever it cost him and whatever, but that is what it is. It's baseball. This guy's a catcher for God's sakes, and they rest him one day a week. I mean, he doesn't play one day a week because he's a catcher. So it is what it is. I think he should be the MVP of the American League. That's my opinion.
And last question, Scotty. I'm going to ask you from this point. The funny thing about this now, again, it's like changing every day here, is the Yankees have now caught the Jays. So at one point we've been talking the whole time Red Sox Yankees win, it goes up to Toronto, and then I think about a week ago it was if the Sox get in, unfortunately they're going to have to travel to Seattle, and now the path could be Sox versus Jays. Winner goes to New York. How times have changed here.
Um, I think people have jumped off the Yankee bandwagon, and I don't blame them. I mean, their bullpen has not been what it is, but they haven't had the easiest stretch down here, and the Blue Jays are going to be playing some meaningful games the rest of the way. The Blue Jays, who do they play next week or the next game? I forget. I looked all this up last night, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm doing all this football work right now, and I can't remember. The Blue Jays play. Um, where are you, Blue Jays? They're there. They're at home against the Rays, and the Rays aren't going to be laydowns. They're going to be pretty competitive in those games. So and the Yankees they get the Orioles. Not that the Orioles are going to be laydowns either, but the Yankees are at home, and it's a whole different story when the Yankees play at home. So I think there's a very good likelihood that the Yankees win the American League East, and because of that, right? How can you have Seattle as the favorite to win the American League? I don't know that that's possible. But at the same time, it's all about what have you done for me lately and what do you do in the playoffs, right? I mean, but the Yankees got guys that have been there and done that, won that. Fried's been really good, and he's pitched playoff games. Rodon's pitched playoff games. The Yankee hitters have hit, and Bellinger's been an MVP. So I think the Yankees probably should be the favorite in the American League over all the other teams, but not by much. I mean, shit. There's no standout dynamo teams in Major League Baseball. There just aren't, and we'll see how it goes.
uh, Jays call up, or I don't think they call them up. Is it a bullpen game or whatever? Varland versus Bayo. Bayo, if he gets out of the first couple innings, it's a Toronto number, FYI, guys. Today, the Toronto looks like, per the market, that they're going to stop the bleeding today as the Red Sox, probably win the series, get a little fat, and then they'll limp home, of course, with the three against the Tigers there. And hats off to Crochet. 200 and he gets 205 in the regular season innings pitched. 200 and I think 55 strikeouts or 256 for the year. The absolute workhorse that we were expecting. And the difference between him and Sale is probably about 65 pounds, Scott.
No, well, yeah, their approaches are a little different. What they throw is a little different, but and how Crochet has developed. I think he'll hold up better in the long run than the arm slinger weird motion that Sale had. So It is what it is. But hey, look, it's Major League Baseball. If you make it in the playoffs, you deserve to be there. I don't care, whatever. If you play 162 games, if you're the best of those 162 to get in, you're in. So.
All right, guys. As I stated in the start of the show here, last week Scotty's in pocket plays went 4-0. We actually have 5 in pocket plays. So what I want everyone to do here is to grab your pen pads and pom poms. I'm going to show the in pocket plays now for this week, and I'm going to have Scotty. What we'll do is we'll either break them down through a spreadsheet. We'll go through, if we have time, obviously game on paper to get a little more insight. Scotty Webb's in-pocket plays as we speak this week. Houston minus 13 right now as they host, they travel to Oregon State on Friday. I'm just going down the board here. Kansas minus 5. Kansas hosts Cincinnati, and they're minus 5. North Texas minus 13. Iowa State minus 6. Tennessee minus 7, and Oregon, at Penn State, the whiteout Saturday night plus 3.5. Those are Scotty's in-pocket plays this week. Take it away, Scott.
Well, I mean, I can do this lots of different ways. So I think one of the first things that we'll just say is that some of these numbers are going to still be good. Some of these numbers change, right? So as you're kind of looking at these, when I made my lists out and the stuff that I was looking for and some of the bet numbers I was trying to find, Houston was minus 13.5, and I can get him at 13. And then when I broke down the game, my original impression is that I don't know how Oregon State's really going to score much. And I just need Houston to be pretty good in that game, which I think they will. And Oregon State just, they don't have much defense. Houston's not the most explosive offense, so don't get me wrong. But Houston's got a very good defense. And I don't think Oregon State's going to score very many points. I like Houston in the game. But what really makes you start to look at some of this stuff is go, well, it was, it was 12.5. On Monday morning, it was 11.5. Then it got bet to 13.5. Then it fell to 13. I'm like, shit, I'll get it at 13. Because they're already indicating which direction the game's supposed to go. So if it was 12.5, fell to 11.5, then went up to 13.5. The direction's saying it's supposed to go that way, and then if you can get it at 13, you're buying it in at a point where you couldn't get it before. So I'm okay with this game for anybody that wants to play this game. At 13.5, and if you want to play it at 14, play it at 14. It's I guess the way to say it is 14.5 is the bad number. So kind of look at it that way. But as you have all these things, I got a list, right? Well, here's the 2, Jeff, that didn't make my list that I had to cut them off. I'm like, I'm not playing 7. Pittsburgh plus 4.5. I think is a good bet, but I like all these other ones better than that. I think Pittsburgh's a live dog. So those of you who are looking at my sheet and go, shit, that's a lot of favorites. Well, there's another dog that I just think it's better to go than another direction on. And then the other one was San Diego State. San Diego State's minus only 2.5, and they're playing a MAC school or something. Who do they play? San Diego State. They play Northern Illinois. And there was 2 things that just made it not quite stand out as well as the other ones. I mean, data-wise, they're great. But the thing that stood out is that San Diego State now has to go to California, or not from California, has to go to Illinois to play. So it's across the country, at least halfway across the country. And then secondly, they're off a big win. I mean, San Diego State just beat Cal and beat them up. So, it's one of those spots where I sit there and go, I'm just going to let it ride and let this one go. But it was interesting. I think the sports books made that bet or made that line 2.5, hoping that it would get 3.5, 4, and then have Northern Illinois be the right side. But it hasn't moved. So I still like the 2.5. I think that's a good number. I think San Diego State can win by a field goal in that game. But those are the two that didn't make the list. And Jeff, you can get Florida State minus 6.5 now. We broke that game down, and I think the word I used was Florida State's a Ferrari or something like that. I don't know how you can't bet Florida State minus the 6.5 instead of 7. So that's going to be a bet, but it's not necessarily like in pocket. Just means I bet it yesterday, guys. The portfolio adds every day, and obviously once you're in on a game, unless somebody breaks their leg or something in practice, you can bet the other side and get out of it if you have to. But the reality is, once you're in on the game, your portfolio just grows. So I think Florida State's probably another good one. So I thought there was a couple things we can do. Like if I can break down all these games, and basically theoretically go through the data stuff like I did a little bit on and not go so deep, but kind of high overview some of these games. And then if somebody has questions or if somebody goes, hey, this is a great spot, because there's a lot of good spots. I didn't bet LSU and Mississippi. Maybe somebody thinks I should break down that game, or maybe Alabama's game's not on here, and we can look at some of the major games that way. So we can do it however. So you tell me what you want me to do.
I think I'm looking here. There's a lot of marquee games here. What I think we should do here, as we're already up to almost the 20-minute mark here, is I'm going to go to Game on Paper, and I'm going to pull up the Oregon Penn State game and have you break that one down here. Let me do this, and let me see if I can do this. And then share screen, and let me see, in pocket image, Game on Paper. We're going to share, and we're going to do this, and then I'm going to scroll here. All right, guys, don't fail me. Here we go. Preview. There you go, Scotty.
All right. So, obviously, we kind of went through this stuff last week. We'll keep going through it so that you get a good idea of what's going on. And the first thing that jumps out as you when you look at these games, or this game particularly, there's a lot of damn green on that sheet. There's a lot of good football there. So context, I think, is always the number one thing, right? So context-wise, got to look, and like I said last week, I use, powerrankings.com or whatever it was, teamrankings.com, and I get the strength of schedules for these teams. So the first thing I do is I look at that, and they're about even. Oregon was 112th right now, which will dramatically drop after this game, and Penn State is 136th. Now, Penn State has played nobody. I mean, remember, they played absolutely nobody. I mean, hey, Jeff, I'll show you how to do this. Go where Penn State is, click to where it says View Profile. We did this to get the player information before. If you click that, now slide that clear down towards the bottom. Keep going, 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 keep going. Oh, look at that. There's the games. So that's the games that they've played and who they've played, right? So in this particular, what they've done, they played Nevada, they played Florida International, and they played goddamn Villanova. So when you look at who they've played, it's 100%. I mean, 100% nobody. What's cool about this, Jeff, is if you really wanted to go do something, there's a little button on there that says stats. You can see this breakdown of all these games. So you can look at it from and break, see what they did against certain things and all that stuff. So it's really cool. Anyway, my point to you is that Penn State, and we'll go back to the main screen. So just go up and hit the little back button. Oh, back button. Okay. There you go. So when you're looking at it, Oregon is number 4 in EPA, right? So that's at the top. That's your north. We talked about this. That's the North Star. That's what you really want to focus on. So they're number 4 in the country at plus 0.54. EPA for Penn State is plus 0.43. I get it. They haven't played anybody, so those are stats that are, kind of up there. But at the same time, then you start looking at it. You go yards per play. Well, yards per play, you can see Oregon is dark green and Penn State is kind of light green color there. And then the AY percent, right? We talked about AY percent. That's available yards, and how many do they get of the available yards that were there. And Oregon ranks 3rd, and Penn State ranks 8th. And then the success percentage again, you have from getting the amount of yards they were supposed to get, and then you look at it from a perspective of okay, well, Oregon's a little better. So as we slide this down just a little bit, and you start looking at offense defense matchups, you start to see a little bit of purple, and you start to see a little bit of discolor in there. That's all on the Penn State side. That's not on the Oregon side. And those so the matchup then, where is that matchup? Well, that matchup is on 3rd and 4th down. So what's kind of cool in some of these things is when you look at it. So if a team is successful on 1st down, that means they've set up 2nd or 3rd down to be short. And if you look at it from early 3rd downs, both teams are number 1 and number 2. So they really have great 1st downs. And then the second part says 3rd and 4th down success. Oregon ranks 14th in the country. They're really good at that on offense. And then Penn State is 88th in the country on defense at stopping it. That's that purple up there. So that tells me that even against this level of competition that Penn State's been playing on defense, their defense hasn't been as good as they probably should have. I mean, they're playing Villanova, for Christ's sakes, and teams like that. They should be like, they're one of the best teams in the country. They were preseason number 1. They should be the best defense. And in this case, they're 88th at stopping 3rd and 4th downs. So I think that's an advantage there for the Oregon offense. And then the same thing sort of applies on the bottom side. If you look at the, when it says offense, defense, Penn State doesn't convert on 3rd down, they're going the other way. If you're not going to sustain drives in this football game, I don't think you're going to win the football game. So that was one thing that stood out to me that said, Penn State's level of opponent has not been good, and that would be an area that I think would be strong. So I was expecting to see strong all the way down through, and you just don't see it that way. The other thing that stands out to me is Drew Aller, right? So I go back to my spreadsheet. In my spreadsheet, I rank the QBR, right? Because the QBR rating is a very good understanding of how the quarterback has performed. Well, Drew Aller is supposed to be a Heisman candidate. Well, currently, against this level of competition, they rank 100 and, however many, 130, 140, 150 schools because they got backups in there now, and there's 2 for one team, stuff like that. He ranks 106th in college football as quarterback play. So I started doing a little bit of research and study and stuff, and everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, people are going, well, you know what? Penn State has said, hey, look, we're going to keep things basic. We're going to keep things simple. We're not going to show anybody anything. We don't have to show anybody anything because of the level of competition we play. I get it, right? So theoretically, they're sandbagging their good stuff for this game. And I get all of that, right? I get all that. They're still not playing up to the level of a number one college football team to beat a top 5 Oregon team. They're just not. So Drew Aller, the quarterback, is not playing at the level that he needs to play at. I think when I looked, let me pull him up for 1 second. Drew Aller is completing 66% of his passes. That's not a bad number, but you want to be in the 70s or above. He has 2 touchdown passes, 1 interception. He's taken 3 sacks against this level of quality of opponent. That's not good enough. And just as a comparison, for example, go back and I'll look at the quarterback for Oregon, and like we said, neither one's played the greatest level of opponent, but Oregon's actually played better opponents to a slight degree. He has 11 touchdowns passing and 1 interception. That's what you should see. You should see stuff like that. And on the Penn State side, you don't see that. And I get it. Everybody's talking about the whiteout, and everybody's talking about, they're going to scare Oregon and all that stuff. Have you ever watched Dan Lanning give a damn press conference? He's some of the most frightening things that anybody could ever say and ever do. Gundy went and poked the bear, and he just went and said, I don't care. I'm going to put up 70 against Oklahoma State. So that's what he did. Like the guy's not intimidated by anything. His team takes on that persona. They're not going to be intimidated to go play Penn State. So I think when you sit there and you think about it, Oregon's a live dog. I think Oregon's in a good spot. I think the quarterback plays better. I don't think that you can go as a program and say we're not going to do our good stuff, and then on this game we're going to play our good stuff, and then expect it to go perfect either. So I like the idea that Oregon's more battle tested. Not that it's not that much, but they've at least practiced, done the stuff. They've run the plays they want to run. Their quarterback play's been way better. Their defense is good. I like Oregon.
I'm going to play devil's advocate right now. Penn State, a week off to prepare for this game. Penn State, considered top 3 team, obviously, in the country preseason. Drew Aller, again, Heisman hopeful. The best potential running back combination in the land, the whiteout. Now, listen, I don't buy the sizzle. Okay, I'm an X's and O's. I'm a numbers guy. Okay, I don't care about the logo on the front. I don't care about the names. What I'm saying out loud, and I'm not trying to contradict you here or nothing like this, because numbers speak here. But the comedy is that, again, my take on Thursday at 9:38 is Oregon is the public dog of the day currently. There'll be a lot of Alabamas out there, and there's a handful of others there. And the fact of the number is it's 3.5. It's not 2.5. It's 3.5, and it's almost, in my eyes right now, currently, Scotty, they're begging us for Oregon money. That's just my eyes reading the market.
No, I hear you. Where is that game here? Let me see it on. There it is. So I was looking at that on, and what's kind of cool is, so when I look at it on Profit X, right? So -3. If you just look at it -3, Penn State's -3, -126, and at -3, Oregon's +118. And then 3.5, you get, the Penn State's -3 at +100. And if you're playing +3.5, it's -109 for Oregon. And if you take the 4 and you put in the 4, Penn State is +103, and Oregon is -117 at the +4. So it's almost getting to a point where it's going to get to a 4 to be, I think. So I think people are not betting on Oregon in this game. I think people are betting on Penn State. It looks to me like, based off of, I should know, and let me look at the other thing that I got. Bam. we'll go look at. I'm just looking at pregame to see what it comes up with in terms of bet percentages and stuff. Where is that game? There it is. So $65,000 bet in the game, and it's saying 69% of it is on Oregon, 67% of the tickets. So that doesn't look to me like it's too far out of whack when it comes to that particular part of it. But in terms of the betting exchange and Profit X, it looks to me like it's getting closer to get to 4 than it is to get to 3. And maybe you wait, maybe you can get it at 4. I don't think you're going to get it at 4 because the Profit X isn't going to change it to 4 unless some of these other places get to that number. And based on what I'm looking at with them, with that. With pregame, that's not going to get there. So no, I hear you. I mean, there's a lot of ways you can do this, guys, and what Jeff does is different than what I do, and he looks and tries to read what the market's doing. And remember, this is all about the market. I try to do it a different way, and sometimes it works out, and sometimes it doesn't. My way is data, right? Like, I don't know if anybody's ever heard me do a baseball game before, but Jesus, that's what I do. I break down data, and I just look at it from a different perspective and a different way, and it just goes that way. So anyhow, I there's got to be balance, and if you don't have balance in it, then which is exactly why I try to do some of the other stuff, the old school stuff, which is, looking at the schedule and the strength of schedule and looking at the quarterback play and looking at some of the stuff and just kind of going from there. So anyway.
I pulled up the second game. Tennessee, you had -7 traveling to Cowbell Central, Mississippi State. We know about the Vols, their high octane offense. Their loss against Georgia, obviously, a game they kind of dominated the first half. A late score by Georgia before the half. Georgia takes over, and if my memory serves me correct, it actually went to overtime. Georgia prevails there. Tennessee -7 here. Right now, as we speak, the Vols -3-1 overall. Their only loss, of course, to Georgia, and the Cowbells, Mississippi State 4-0. Scotty.
Yeah. So I don't know what people know about Mississippi State other than when they see them, they're 4-0. Last year, that was a 2-10 football team. So they've already doubled their win percentage. I think I don't think they were expected to win 4 games all season. So I think they've already went over their season total in wins if you bet Mississippi State over the win total. So congratulations to that football team. I think the number one thing is that last year they just couldn't stop anybody and their defense wasn't good. This year, what they're doing is they're playing what I would call an over top shell kind of defense where they're just not allowing as many obviously deep shots, big plays, big runs, big anything, and they're just trying to keep everything in front of them. So the way I look at this game and started breaking this down is Tennessee has played there. Tennessee's played the 55th strongest schedule, so decent. It's in the upper half, and Mississippi State's played 114th. Again, Mississippi State. If we look at who they have played, I think Mississippi State went down, and they've played. Mississippi played University of Southern Mississippi, and that's not a very good football team. And they beat them 34-17. The game that stands out is that they were at home and they beat Arizona State. That's a big win for them. And then they beat Alcorn State 63-0, and they beat this Northern Illinois team, a MAC team, 38-10. Right. So the reality becomes is that this is a team that is in a spot. It's just a spot where you go and say, all right, well, I think everybody's sort of falling in love with this football team because they've accomplished a lot of things that they didn't have done prior to that. So if you start to kind of look at them and you go back and you go, all right, well, how good is this team? Look at their EPA is 0.37. That's pretty good. That ranks them 15th. And then Tennessee's is 0.16. All right, well, 0.16 is one of these things that's and they're both green, but when you look at it from a perspective of one's better than the other one, well, Mississippi State's is better. But keep in mind who Tennessee played. I mean, Tennessee's played Georgia, right? So that's a big deal. And then when you start to look at how does it kind of where does it kind of fall apart and what happens, I think you look at it from a level that says, let's look at the offense for Tennessee versus the defense for Mississippi. Offensively, you have the 15th ranked team. Let's look at the number. The number on EPA for Tennessee is 0.37. You see what I'm talking about, Jeff, there at the top left?
Yeah.
The number for defense for Mississippi is minus 11. The net then becomes a positive 0.26 for Tennessee on EPA versus, and that's just passing. And then if you look at it from the rushing perspective, it's about even. Well, you can't tell me that Mississippi State's played an offensive line like Tennessee's yet. So I think Tennessee's going to have the stronger offensive line. They're going to have a stronger running game by a little bit. They're going to be able to throw the ball against this team. And Joey Aguilar has been really good for what Tennessee can do. So how does it sit there and you go, okay, on early downs, you look at it from a 22nd in the company, 0.18 positive for Tennessee. Mississippi State is minus 0.7 and 51st in the country. So I think Tennessee then has the advantage on first down. They set up short for second downs, third downs. They're going to move the ball. They're going to get the first down. And then what's the hardest part of this game is taking the Tennessee defense, because you can see it's purple in a lot of spots. Well, why is it purple? It's not because they're a bad defense. It's purple because of what Georgia did last week. Georgia put up all kinds of, and it was mostly second half numbers and second half stuff. And, that was a game that Tennessee should have beat Georgia. Well, Mississippi State's going to have to face that, and their offense is more or less average at best. It's not the most dynamic offense. So I sit there and I looked at it, and as that kind of broke down for me, I even though there are certain spots you might go and say that, for example, available yards for the Mississippi offense, they rank 52nd AY percentage on offense, 52nd. Well, Tennessee's defense, even after giving up all those yards last week, is still ranked better than that offense. I think what ends up happening here is you got a team in Mississippi that's overmatched. They hang around for a while, and then it just gets a little bit ugly, and then you have a stretched run, and Tennessee covers the number.
Scotty, and you talked about it. I remember that Arizona State, excuse me, and they were, I want to say they were double-digit favorites. For some reason, I'm remembering 13. It might have closed at around 9. And I think Mississippi State, if I remember correctly, came out like 24 nothing. Arizona State chipped away. And this Arizona State team, by some of the sharps, preseason pre-flop, had them sneaking into, again, the final 12 here. So that was a big statement there. And again, just from an eye test here, the defense from Mississippi State, I don't know where it came from, but they've played well. Again, the Arizona State team, they didn't play Georgia, but I respect the Arizona State game. Here they are at home as 7-point dogs. The Vols looking for a bounce back here. So I'm, real interested to see that. Again, they can't roll the ball out and say, "Hey, first one to 33 wins this game," because there's no way in holy hell they will keep up with the Tennessee Vols offensively.
So I got the box score up of that game, Arizona State, Mississippi State. Arizona State got 340 yards of offense in that game. Mississippi State got 340 yards of offense too. Their offense came at 280 yards passing, so they threw the ball. Jeff, the biggest thing here in this game, Arizona State ran the ball for 280 yards. Okay, Tennessee can run the ball better than Arizona State can run the ball. Cattaboo ain't there. You know what I mean? He's Scattaboo. Scattaboo plays for the Giants now. He's not in Arizona. So they can run the ball, they can throw the ball. This is just one of those spots, I think, where you sit there and you go, "Oh my gosh, what's going on?" And then you had explosive plays. You had three big passes for Mississippi State in that game, and Arizona State did not. They only had one big play in the game. Both of them, I'm trying to look at, both of them were pretty even on drives and scrimmage plays. The actual defenses, Mississippi State didn't stop them. The stop rate for Mississippi State was 38%. The stop rate on defense for Arizona State was 62%. So the game was won by Mississippi State through big plays. You can't, how do I say this right? So if you're going to have sustained offense and be able to drive the ball down the field, I think Tennessee's going to be able to do that. I think they're going to mix in big plays. Mississippi State, that's the only way they're going to score. They're not going to do that enough in this game to stay within the number of 7. It's going to get up. I think the number's 8 already. I think if you go try to bet it now, it's 8, and I'm okay with 8. I was going to bet it at 7.5, and I think because I think it's going to be higher than that. I do have Jeff. Let me do this real quick. Where's my? I have talked to. Look at me. I'm such a moron. One of the things I was trying to do was get everybody sort of a way to look at this data and then go, can I really project a score up from this stuff? And the truth of the matter is, there is a way. I'm trying to get to that. Let me find it. Dun, dun, dun. I'm not sure that I still have it. Bum, 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 bum. Because I think it's in a different conversation. I'll have to look it up later. But there is a way, and some of that way is you're going to take the EPA advantages and how many drives a team gets and what the expectations are. There's a calculated formula to use this data to actually project a score and a result. And here's one thing I would tell you to do. If you really want to get a good analysis and a breakdown of this stuff, and you want to get a predicted score, clip the picture, put it in Grok, tell Grok this is the data I want you to use, who's going to win the game and why, and you're going to get the breakdowns similar to what I'm talking to you about, and then you'll get it similar in a sense that it will apply that formula, if you will. And then it will. I'm trying to see if I still have the conversation that I was having with him, because just because he says something, it's an AI guy, so you have to teach it stuff. It doesn't understand like line movement, and it doesn't understand certain things. You have to go, hey, look, I'm going to push back a little bit. Why would the public be doing this, or why would sharps be doing that if this is the right thing? And then it'll kind of tell you different things, and it starts to learn stuff, and it makes adjustments, and it does different things. That stuff that we're looking at does not tell you the strength of the opponents that have been played. And then, when you look at this stuff, you can adjust that back based off of who's been playing who. and the quality of opponent. And you can look at it and go, the QBR rate. You can break things back off of that. You can use other data points and other things that old school wise, if you like, you can use to help you navigate some of these things. But the point being is you actually can have predictions as to like what this is going to be. So I'm looking at the one that I did, and I went through this um, with, for example, North Texas, and North Texas is on the sheet there, and um, this one came out, and the projection is 38-17. Projected points for North Texas to South Alabama. And when you start to break it down, you start looking at the results, and you start looking at offense and defense and where things are. And that's one of those games, Jeff. If you pull that one up, it's all green and purple, and it's green for North Texas, and it's purple for South Alabama. You know what I mean? Like that's one of those. And I get it. There are people in our lanes that go out there and they don't care what the numbers show, like what I'm looking at. They don't care about that stuff. They want to bet the market. They don't care about what team it is and all that stuff. They don't care about that stuff. And I get all of that. But I'm not that way a little bit. I can't. I guess the way I do it is I look at it and go, yeah, the market's telling me this, but the market's not always right. And it's a good guide, but it's not always right. So I like to look at it and go, prove it to me. And then when I start looking at stuff, I go, all right, prove me wrong. And last week it didn't work out that way for the market. It worked out good for me. This week I put these numbers out there and I do this. I could get totally blasted. So it's just the way things go. You know how it is.
Before we wrap up, we'll be back tomorrow at 9 a.m., 9:15-ish for the final look, in pocket plays, the final breakdown to get you set up for the weekend. Again, 3 big games tomorrow in college football. Scotty, it's Thursday. There's an NFL game tonight as we speak, and I'm going to go over here for you. Seattle travels to Arizona. The look-ahead line, Arizona -2.5. This Cardinal team covered by a hook opening day in New Orleans. They come back home, huge lead against the Panthers, and basically had that game won and covered, and the Panthers backdoored us. And then they traveled to San Fran last week, and they covered late because of a safety there. 49ers eked out a walk-off field goal to win that game there. Money trickling in on Sam Darnold in Seattle. Right now, I've seen Seattle as high as 1.5-point favorites. Thoughts on tonight's NFL game?
Yeah, I think this is a Seattle team that people are buying into. Not that they shouldn't necessarily, but I just have this thought in my head about Seattle at home. Seattle plays good at home, and this is not necessarily a spot where I think Seattle is in a good spot. My opinion is that this is grass. I don't think they do well on grass, and I like Arizona in this game. I didn't bet it, but I like Arizona in this game. I think the NFL is more tricky when you're trying to bet these spots and bet games, because the comparison on the teams are way different than the comparison on the teams in college football. College football, it's you can have great recruits and great kids that just outclass the other side. Well, you're not going to have that in the NFL. I mean, you might have certain star players that are better than other star players, but they're not going to be that much better. And sometimes those other star players can pull off things and do well. So I guess the way I would look at this is the look ahead numbers is Arizona almost by a field goal, right? I mean, that's kind of where we're looking at. And now the what have you done for me lately is saying, hey, Seattle's been good. Seattle's done this. Seattle's done that. Sam Darnold looks great. I think Seattle's the right side. Well, maybe they are at +3. I don't think they are at anything less than that. So I like Arizona in this spot. I like Kyler Murray to Kyler Murray reminds me a little bit of Baker Mayfield, but not quite totally there. Like I think he's got more athletic ability than Baker Mayfield. I think he can throw the ball better than Baker Mayfield. He's got some of that, grittiness in him a little bit to go get first downs and scramble and run and keep plays alive. He just doesn't have that winning thing that Baker Mayfield does here in Tampa. But he does at times, and I think this is one of those spots where I don't think Arizona's outclassed in this game. I don't think Kyler Murray's outclassed in this game. So I don't know that. I don't think Seattle's the right side. I'll just keep saying it that way.
All right, before we wrap things up here, you kind of hit a soft spot or hit a chord with me. When I'm wrong, when the market throws me a number, Sunday the games are over. I write my numbers that I think they are, and I'm within a point either side of most of the numbers here. And when I'm way off, it's a head scratcher. I'm not saying I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I am just so impressed of what Baker Mayfield has done. He willed his team across the finish line opening day in Atlanta. He held on in the home opener, and I'm drawing a blank here. Why am I drawing a
Yep.
blank? No. Then he goes Monday night to Houston and finds a way to win that game. And then they controlled the game against the Jets. They hold on and win that game. Can you just tell me how in holy hell the Eagles opened up 3.5 point favorites?
Well, it's just reputation, and they're the Super Bowl champions. You know what I mean? Like my thoughts is that sports books know who the public's going to bet, and it doesn't matter. They're still going to bet Eagles. I mean, they're going to bet their favorite team. They're going to bet the team that they think is the best team in all of football, and they're going to do all this stuff. They're going to bet Eagles. I think that's a protection, so to speak, for a sports book to say, hey, they're 3.5. That's the number. Well, they're not 3.5 points better than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa. Well, they might be that, or maybe even a little more if it were in Philadelphia, but it's not. And the other thing is, up until the second half of last week's game against the Rams, the Philadelphia Eagles, and I don't know what the numbers were up to that point, but there's 32 teams in the NFL. I guarantee you they were probably 20th or worse in offense. You know what I mean? Like their offense wasn't clicking. It's not doing the things it needs to do. And then finally they scored some points against the Rams and still should have lost that game. So when I kind of look at what's going on in the NFL and what's going on with how data works and numbers work and all this stuff, there's always going to be this clash. And the clash basically is what do you believe in and what do you trust? And do you trust your eyes and what you see? And then how does that equivalate week to week to week to week to week? Because the hardest thing about sports is to recognize that it's all done by human beings. And sometimes they get up and they have a stiff neck or their foot hurts or they got in a fight with their dad the night before and they're just not thinking about certain things and they don't play as good. So sometimes they're not on. And other times they're all motivated and hyped up to play and they're the greatest and then they do all this wonderful stuff. And that goes in spurts. It goes in 2-3 games in a row and then 2-3 games in a row the other way. So the only thing that worries me about this particular matchup in this particular spot is I don't know that Philadelphia didn't get woke up a little bit in that second half. And maybe that carries over into the first half or the first game here. Because I look at Tampa Bay and I go, this is a solid football team. They don't have a lot of deficiencies or any of that stuff, but they don't have great players either. They're not MVP guys, right? So I sit there and go, well, the Eagles have guys that can be MVP players, both on offense and on defense. Tampa Bay's banged up a little bit on offense, and they're banged up a little bit in defense. So which Philadelphia team do you get? Do you get the best of the best Philadelphia team, or do you get a team that kind of is walking through the motions and doing stuff? My opinion is that's all about Nick Sirianni too, and how he coaches them and keeps them going, and what their motivation level looks like. So I just think that there's a difference in. I always like to say it this way: there's not a lot of difference in every quarterback in the NFL. There just isn't. There's 32 guys. They're all starting quarterbacks in the NFL. Their talent is better than the great anybody else in the world. Otherwise, they wouldn't be starting quarterbacks in the NFL. However, in their heads, there's several different things that separate the best from the best. And right, they have the physical skills to do stuff, but they also have the work ethic to make their physical skills better. B, they have the game smarts to put the ball in positions and do different things that other quarterbacks just don't do. And then C, they have a drive to make everybody else better on their team. Well, some guys have that, Baker Mayfield. Some guys don't. And Kyler Murray maybe has some of that, but not all of that, right? He doesn't care. He was drafted to be a shortstop or an outfielder or whatever it was for the Oakland A's, and he went there, and then they said, "Oh well, we're going to sign him and pay him more money," so he went to go play football. I think when you start to think about the differences in football teams, you really got to start looking at mental edges, physical edges, who's healthy, who's not healthy, especially on the offense and defensive lines, the defensive back situation, because if you can't cover the wideouts, you're not going to win these football games. And then what do the head coaches and the offense and defensive coordinators provide? Even though they're getting paid as they're the best in the world, sometimes they're not. Sometimes you got a lot better guy waiting in the wings and doing different things that can change the dynamics of these football teams. And it's interesting how a difference in that kind of thing can make an impact on who actually covers the game and who doesn't.
All right, last look here before we come back tomorrow. I'm going to go right here for us again. Scotty's in-pocket plays as we speak. Houston -13, Kansas -5, North Texas -13, Iowa State -6, Tennessee -7, and Oregon in the whiteout +3.5 against Penn State. At 11 a.m., people, our regular scheduled show, Tyler Wyatt Bets at Odds Culture will be on at 11:05 talking this week in college football. Around 11:30, Matt Grissom back talking SEC football and, of course, his card for the Westgate Super Contest. For myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Investor, the one and only Mr. Scotty Webb at Webby20MLB. I want to give a shout out to Emil and Danny. God bless you guys. Thank you so much for the heartfelt email. Emil, we will go over your plays tomorrow. We'll have Scotty and myself break down your NFL selections there. Hug the bride for us. So everyone stay tuned. We'll be back in about less than 1 hour.